Welcome, everybody. This is Kevin Wilkie, Executive Director at a local Internet Marketing Association, and really excited about this webinar that we're going to do today and the special guest I have on here because it's going to really leave you with a lot of great actionable information that you can go put to your use, and also expose you to a brand new kind of voice in the marketplace, somebody that you've never heard of. And that has spent the past 3 years out there building a highly successful local marketing agency in Toronto, Canada. And he's going to show you kind of behind the scenes on how he's able to do that and some of the key things that was allowed him to scale from having no clients to having 160 clients in just 18 months. So if you want to get some inside tips and secrets on getting clients and getting a lot of clients quickly, then this is the absolute best place for you to be. And with that, I am going to introduce Corey. Are you there, Corey?
Yeah, I'm here, Kevin.
Hey, glad to have you on here. And I met Corey this spring, I believe. We're part of kind of an entrepreneurial group. And he introduced himself, and I realized that he was a local marketer, so of course I had to meet him. And then I ended up spending a day hanging out with him in Toronto and just learning more about him and his business. And much like me, he comes from this place of contribution, just wanting to help and make a difference for people. And somehow I talked him into doing this webinar for all the Lehman members, and then I decided to open up to everybody else as well because it's just going to be that good. So I'm very grateful for Corey agreeing to do this and share some of his best stuff from his own agency with all of you guys. So I am going to turn this over to you and let you take it from here.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kevin. I still don't know how you were able to talk me into this, but you know what? I'm glad that you did it, and I'm glad to be here. For everyone that's on the line, please understand this is the first webinar that I've held. I don't do this. I'm busy actually making my money in the market. So if there are a few glitches while I'm controlling this presentation, please just bear with us. I'm sure Kevin will get me back online pretty quickly. So I'm just going to drag my presentation over into the screen, and if everyone can just kind of shout out in the chat box if it's possible to see my screen. How does it look like, Kevin? Can people see me?
Yeah. So yeah, everybody's able to see it just fine.
Okay, great. Let me just get the chat box out of the way. Okay, perfect. So today what I'm going to take you through is really something that has had a huge impact on my business and has really been honed over the last 3 years, basically through trial and error. A lot of failure, a lot of rejection, but I took that and I've honed a pretty tight strategy now that certainly helps me convert more and earn more. But what I'm going to do is I am not going to simply read out out loud a series of words laid out in black text against a white background like most presentations that you see online in a follow the bouncing way sort of routine designed to purposely or not lull you into a trance. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a series of images to help teach what I'm about to share. Now, there's ample research supporting the fact that imagery accelerates both attention and retention while also reducing learning time. And this is really important because what I'm going to share and what I'm going to present to you are a few simple concepts that literally took me about 3 years to perfect. And if you implement these in your business, I can almost guarantee you they will have a massive impact, whether you have 1 customer or whether you have 100. So before we get to that, why don't I give you a little bit of background of first why we're here. So basically it comes down to 2 words, this guy, and that's Kevin Wilkie. Prior to Kevin hunting me down, I'd never really heard much of him because, to be honest, I didn't really spend my time in the internet marketing circles. But after conducting a little bit of research of him online, as he said, we are in an entrepreneurial group together. We had a quick chat over lunch and then a short mastermind session on the rooftop of the Thompson Hotel here in Toronto, which is an absolutely beautiful landscape. Kevin had convinced me that I really kind of needed to get out from behind the scenes and do my first webinar to his community. Now, the only caveat that I had really was that there's no selling. This is strictly value add. I don't even have a product to sell because, again, that's not how I make my money. I don't make my money selling information. I make my money by actually doing this in the market. So if anyone was here expecting something to be sold at the end of this webinar, I hate to disappoint you, but it's just not going to happen. But with that said, I do plan on sharing one of my most strategic insights and probably the single factor that has had the largest impact on my business and will most likely have a huge impact on your business as well. There's probably going to be more value in the free information that Kevin and I are sharing with you today than you get in most of the courses that you will buy online. So with that said, I do want to thank Kevin for the invite and the relentless arm twisting to get me here. I'm happy to be here. I'm nervous. I'm excited. But more importantly, I really do want to thank him for everything that he's doing for our industry through Lima and through some of the other initiatives that he's doing. I don't know if people on the webinar know, but Kevin recently celebrated a birthday. And so I think we should also take a minute just to give him a shout out and wish him a happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
So again, the purpose of today's webinar is really quite simple. I'm going to share what I think is the biggest impact and the smallest hack that you can implement on your business that will have an immediate impact. Now, there's a lot of topics that we could have discussed, and Kevin and I kind of went through most of them. Some would have more value if you were a larger business, while others definitely had more value if you were just getting your start. So I really wanted to try to find a topic that would be relevant for everyone, regardless of the stage that you're at, whether you have 1 client or 100 clients. And so I chose the topic of the sales meeting because, unlike other topics, this can have an immediate impact on your business despite where you are. If you have a sales meeting tomorrow, you're going to learn today how to make considerably more money out of that sales meeting, and more importantly, how to close that sales meeting in a way that is non-salesy and non-pressury. Okay? Now, we're not going to cover how to book the meeting or how to get the meeting. That's a topic within itself. But what we're going to talk about is the actual sales meeting. So like I said, this is going to get you top dollar and make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table, which is something I struggled with a lot at the beginning. So I'll actually be sharing my top sales strategy with you today, and I have never shared this with anybody before. In fact, Kevin couldn't even get it out of me when we had our short meeting. So again, I hope you're excited about this because I really do think that this is going to be tremendously helpful. Now, the reason why I chose this topic is because, in my opinion, and having experienced it myself, way too many people fail in the space. And way too many people undercut their value, which ultimately hurts the whole industry as it undermines any sustainable long-term pricing strategy. We deliver, as local consultants, a tremendous amount of value to our market and our clients, and we are only hurting ourselves when we undermine our value through low pricing. It is an absolute fact, and this is speaking from experience. Clients that pay more are nicer to you most of the time. It is also a fact that commanding a higher price simply gives you more resources to kick ass with. And if you have more resources and you can deliver the results, you can then charge more, and your retention rate with your clients are going to skyrocket through the roof. I think Kevin mentioned we have just about a 99% retention rate. We represent over 160 local businesses, and I've only had 1 business ever leave me. And they left me because they thought they were going to get the same value of results from a low-cost provider, and they came crawling back 4 months later, but I would not take them because they really lost their opportunity. So with that now behind us, and we all know why we're here, I just do want to give a very quick introduction to myself and provide a quick background. So my name's Corey Wirt, and I am the president of a highly successful marketing agency named Free Flow Marketing. We offer our clients a suite of services such as SEO, social media, PPC, video marketing, and really anything else that helps our clients connect with their consumers and make more from the digital space. We focus only on the digital space, and we only do internet marketing. We don't do any sort of traditional marketing anymore, so we don't do TV, we don't do radio, we don't do print. We only do internet marketing. We provide services to businesses of all shapes and sizes, and we represent everyone from the local business to the subject matter expert, all the way up to the Fortune 500s. We represent 6 Fortune 500 firms, but this is mostly digital brand strategy implementation, and that's not really the focus of what I'm going to talk about today, because I don't believe that that's the primary focus of the group. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay, good, good. So what I do want to focus on is the fact that we also represent over 160 local businesses, and we've acquired that number of businesses in 3 very short years. Now, we did not get our start in the local space, but it's certainly where we're paying more attention these days, and supporting local businesses is actually becoming a strategic focus of our business. It's highly profitable, and if you do it right, it's relatively low maintenance compared to other essentially compared to our corporate accounts. Now, I have to admit, like, when I say this out loud, it does kind of seem surreal, because like I said, we've got here in a relatively short period of time, and I'm always really so focused on kind of like the next step and the next stage of growth and what we're going to do next, that I actually rarely ever sit down to think about kind of how far we've come and how we got here and so on and so forth. And just kind of saying this out loud on the webinar, it feels kind of surreal, because literally it was less than 4 years ago that I was still slaving away in the corporate world. I absolutely hated my job, and I mean hated my job. My background was in the corporate world, and I jumped in right after college, eager and ready to tackle the world. When I was in the corporate world, I held a variety of roles in a company that grew $6 billion in sales annually. So it was a big company. I was being groomed for executive management. I was on a fast track. I had a lot of things going for me. I made a great salary. By the age of 28, I was making 6 figures. And after moving around for a number of years in that company, I settled down in the marketing department, where I spent the next 4 or 5 years managing a brand portfolio in excess of $100 million. Now, I have to say this, like, I was not born a genius, and I do not have some sort of special gift, so don't think I'm any different than you. I'm actually a pretty average guy, but the difference is I work hard and I get things done, and that's really been the key to my success. Despite the blessings that I had, though, like I said, I absolutely hated my job. And like, when I say I hated my job, I could not say that with any harsher intent than I'm saying it. I never voiced my discontent to my family or my friends, because in all reality, I really felt like I didn't have much to complain about. I was doing better than most of my friends. I was making more money than my dad made at his age of retirement before I was really even getting started. And although everything was going really nice on paper, I was absolutely miserable, and I'm sure a lot of you can kind of relate to that. Each day that I spent in the corporate world was a day that I just absolutely fell further down the rabbit hole. I was burnt out, miserable, frustrated. I suffered anxiety attacks, you name it. I absolutely was in just a miserable spot, until one day I just really decided I could not do it anymore, and I handed in my resignation. I had no idea what I was going to do. I wasn't looking for another job. All I know is that I did not want to do what I was still doing. So it took me a couple months to get on my feet. I kind of refer to it as the jump and build your wings on the way down sort of approach. Not something I would suggest to the group, but for me, I had to get out of the corporate world, and when I got back on my feet, I realized that I really wanted to kind of marry my love for marketing and technology. And so I decided that I was going to create a business that helped usher other businesses into this new digital space. Now, I realized when I got started that there was a problem with the industry. And to be honest, it came down to one thing, and it's something that I suffered from quite a bit at the beginning, and that's pricing. Most of you are giving away the farm. The high failure rate in this industry is because people fail to establish pricing that is sustainable in the long run. When I got started, I was taking on clients that were $200, $300 a month, and I'm sure some of you are in the exact same spot. I just can't see how people selling the service at $200 or $300 a month are making any money, and I know this from personal experience. You're trading your time for a price that makes it absolutely impossible to create any sustainable leverage. And like I said, when I got started, I was absolutely no different. Results were slow. I was not closing at a high rate. I was doing it all in the wrong way. My results were so slow, and I'm going to share some numbers with you now here. In my first 18 months, I was able to successfully book 67 sales meetings. Out of those 67 meetings, only 6 of them actually became clients. So that's less than a 10% close rate where now we have a close rate above 90%. Those 6 clients grossed me $35,000 in revenue. That's gross, not net, so it's not what I was taking home. And the average client value was roughly about $486 a month. That equated to just under $3,000 a month, or $18 an hour. Now, it was a one-man show, so that's what I took home. And while things weren't great, they certainly weren't bad. It's a decent start, but it was not moving anywhere close to the speed that I wanted it to move. And I really felt like this. I was working hard, I was pedaling hard, and it just didn't ever seem like I was going to get further down the road. And then what happened was the second 18 months. And it really felt like my slow progress got a rocket boost. In the second 18 months, we booked 173 sales meetings. We landed over 160 clients for a 92.4% close rate. We generated $3.2 million in revenue, with an average client revenue of $1,700 a month. That equates to revenue of about $272,000 a month, or roughly $1,700 an hour. Now, as I said, there's a lot that goes into a business of this size, and obviously my overhead has increased significantly compared to when I was a one-man show. I've got a full team that supports me now. We've got an office space in the city. And so that $1,700 is not my take-home, but as you can see, there was quite a dramatic shift between the first 18 months and the second 18 months. Now, I honestly attribute the shift to the 10 shifts in your positioning that I'm about to share with you now. So if everyone's interested in that, they're still following, give a quick shout out on the chat box so I know that you're still here while I take a quick sip of water, please.
And I've seen this as very common when people are starting in a new business, is you go through this period of kind of like just figuring it all out. And there's probably quite a few people on here that are in that figuring out phase that feel like you, where they've done a lot of activity, they've done the sales meetings, they're not getting the closing rate they want, and they might not be getting enough revenue that they want. They just like are at that spot. And then there's really usually some sort of catalyst moment where everything just shifts and changes from that point forward, and hopefully this webinar can be that shift and change for a lot of people.
That's exactly it. Like I kind of, there was one point actually where, I wondered if I was even gonna continue to go down this road. And then I kind of hit my tipping point. And, that's exactly what I'm going to share now. And that tipping point made all the difference in the world. And so, it really comes down to really fundamental key things that you're doing in your positioning. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself because we'll discuss this, but as soon as I started to implement these small hacks into my sales presentation, like I said, my conversion rate went up, the price that we command went up, and really nothing had changed other than how I was presenting myself. And so my hope is that people can take the 10 things that I'm about to share with them, and like I said, if you have a sales meeting tomorrow, you can work this into your presentation tonight so that you can deliver that tomorrow, and I can almost guarantee this is going to make your life a lot easier, and it's certainly going to help you earn more revenue. So for me, it really came down to one thing, and that was shifting the balance of power. Now, it's funny how this started, because like I said, I had 6 clients and I was absolutely working my butt off for them, and I was growing frustrated with how slow things were moving because I couldn't take on more clients because I already had a full plate, and I really had no aspiration to go back to working 60 hours a week like I did in the corporate world, because that's not what I left the corporate world to do. I was trying to find a little bit more of life balance at this point. So when I was trying to figure out how I could tweak things so that it would change and I'd get better results, because I was pretty much at my wit's end at that point, I looked literally at 1,000 different leverage points in the business to try to find a solution to the problem. And I have to say, I was ignoring for probably about a good 7 months, in my opinion, what was the simplest solution in front of me. And that comes down to just simply charging more money. Now, I know that seems crazy simple, but to be honest, the one thing you're going to learn when you go through business, it's the simple things that really have the biggest impact on your business. So if I could charge more money, I realized that would allow me to hire, it would allow me to create some leverage in my business, And that was really kind of the tipping point that gave me more resources so that I could move from a one-man show with 6 clients and really a ceiling that I could not break through to being a company or a team that could handle hundreds of clients, and we still have a ton of capacity to grow. So knowing that I really had nothing to lose and I wasn't willing to continue to go as things were still going, and that's something that really everyone on this webinar can benefit from learning. In my next sales meeting, all I did was I walked in there and I tripled my price. Again, I did not care if I got them, because to be honest, if they said yes, great. If they said no, that's fine, because I couldn't really take them on anyways. So instead of selling the service, I went in there and I sold myself. And this is a fundamental shift in the mentality of what you need to do in your sales. Now, I had acquired a lot of knowledge in the first 18 months. I had 6 clients all doing extremely well because of it. So when I went in there, and at this point I was primarily only selling SEO, when I went into that sales meeting, instead of explaining SEO and all the technical aspects of it, or trying to sell SEO and the value of SEO, I simply sold myself and what I had done for my other clients. And what I saw was like an absolutely amazing shift in the mind of my prospect. I literally went from a vendor and a service provider, which there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of us out there, to really becoming an expert in their mind. Now, this made me look confident and reliable. They did not hesitate when I quoted my price, because I could point towards results in the market, and I absolutely could not believe it. In one simple meeting, I had now essentially tripled the value that I'd ever received from any client. And for the next 3 months, what I continued to do was push up my prices and refine my sales process to what it is today. Now it's basically a rinse and repeat that I could do in my sleep. I don't even have to play with it anymore. It works so well. In fact, we stopped trying to tweak and improve it probably about 4 months ago, because we've just never been able to exceed the benchmark that we have now. Now, the one thing that I do want to say is, when I will get into how I set my pricing at towards the end of this presentation, but I want you to note that I always remained ethical. And I'm not giving you permission to go out and rob an unsuspecting business owner. I never took advantage of an unknowing client, and I always kept my pricing at a level that I knew I could drive a positive ROI for my client. At the end of the day, I like to sleep at night, and I sleep best when my clients are happy. So very much like we look at these rocks, when you're looking at things in a state of balance, they seem very solid. But as I'm sure you can imagine, if you were to push or gently just touch any of those rocks, the entire power will topple over. Now, that's exactly what I'm going to teach you to do in this presentation. So with that said, enough of kind of the warm-up. We're going to get right into the steps that I take, and this is where you definitely want to start taking notes. So the first slide is really all about shock and awe. Now, when you walk into a sales meeting, your prospect thinks they have the power. They know you're trying to sell something, and so therefore they think they make the calls. Now, the one thing that I can tell you is this is only true if you let it be true. When I walk into a sales meeting, the first thing I try to do is knock them off their feet. Now, I mean that in a good way, of course. So what I do, and it doesn't matter what service you're offering, you need to make your first slide or your first topic a point of education. Now, when you do this, this changes the dynamic from one of sales to education. And this is the first step in gaining their trust. What you're doing is you're changing the psychology of their mindset from one of defensiveness to one of wonder. So for example, when I'm selling SEO, I simply explain the 3 distinct sections on the page. It's super simple to do. See, when a client or a prospect who doesn't really know the ins and outs of our industry, when they look at a page of Google results, they see simply that, one single page of Google results. When I look at that, I see organic, local, and paid advertisements. Now, simply calling that out and showing in the first stage of our relationship building that I know more than them, we are now putting them back into the back seat. They're no longer driving. They realize I'm the expert, I know more than them, and they need to start listening to me. So it seems super simple, but this is the first and the most important step of what you need to do in your sales presentation. Now, the next thing you need to do is create your point of differentiation. See, the likely next step in your prospect's mind is going to be one of rationalization. They're going to tell themselves that everyone that does what you do probably knows what you just shared with them. So before that thought can even form in their brain, you have to differentiate yourself from the rest of the crowd. You have to establish that while others may do what you do, you are different. And don't ever cop out by saying you can do something that others can't unless you can absolutely point to proof in the market. Otherwise, you're just going to get exposed as a huckster, and trust me, they can smell this a mile away. For us, when we're presenting, we differentiate from others in the market by showcasing our infrastructure. So if we're talking about SEO again, we demonstrate that we are a real company and not someone that's doing this on the side or a college kid trying to earn some beer money for the weekend. It's okay if you're doing that. That is absolutely fine. You just need to find a different point of differentiation. And what we're doing is we realize that there is a lot of providers within our market, and they vary from very different degrees of technical skill. So having realized that, we let them know that we are a solid company that will be there if we lose a team member, the project doesn't go off the rails, so on and so forth, and it provides stability in their mind. Before I could do this, though, before I had the big company and before I had a team that I could point to kind of show off our results, I used the results that we had in the market for my 6 clients. What you have to understand is there are very few of us that are in this local space that actually deliver really great results to their clients. And if you don't have that intention to do that, then you really should not be in this space. For me, my point of differentiation when I couldn't point to a big company was the fact that we had delivered results, and their companies with the 6 clients that I was working with were growing consistently month after month. As soon as I had some results to point in the market, you have no idea how differently those prospects started to look at me. All of a sudden, I went from someone who's trying to get their money to becoming someone who can make the money. Does that make sense, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. Now, the next thing that we do, after we've created our point of differentiation, we make them realize that we're different than others. One thing everyone needs to do on this webinar is you need to stop selling your service. Plain and simple. Now, this isn't going to be intuitive, so let me explain. If a prospect has agreed to meet with you and discuss a particular service, do you think that they might be interested? Of course they are. I always laugh because I think Google has one of the best advertisements in the market right now. It's actually a banner ad. And what they're doing is it's a dynamic banner ad that changes. And the first question is, you know who's looking for a haircut? The answer is someone searching for a haircut. That's why Google Ads works so well. Well, this is very similar to what we're doing now. If someone has taken the time out of their day to meet with you to discuss a service, they already know the value of the service. So again, I'm going to relate this back to SEO. If I'm sitting down and I'm talking with a business owner about search engine optimization, I don't need to convince them of the value of search engine optimization because they would not take the time to meet with me if they didn't know that it could have a positive impact on their business. So when you find yourself in that position, what I did in the first 18 months is I realized I was still trying to sell the service. And I was getting into the technical nitty-gritty. And to be honest, all it did was create a state of confusion with my client. So what you have to stop doing is you have to stop actually selling the service that you're there to talk about. Instead, the only reason why the prospect has agreed to meet with you is to check you out and make a judgment call on you. And this is one of the most simple, but one of the largest fundamental truths you need to realize. If they're taking the time to meet with you, the only thing they're doing is assessing you. At the end of that meeting, if they think that you can deliver, you're going to get that contract. If they don't think you can deliver, or they're confused in any way, or you've spoken to them about HTML5 and colloquialization and everything else that's relevant for search engine optimization, they're not going to buy from you. And the reason for that is really simple. The psychology of a confused mind limits anybody from actually processing and buying. So you really have to stop selling your service, and you really need to start selling yourself instead. You need to give them a reason to trust you, and you do that by focusing on establishing yourself as an expert through education. Now, a good educator can take a complex topic and simplify it so non-experts can understand. Like I said, this is absolutely crucial to the sales process. So whenever you're sitting down, if you're talking to somebody about a website, again, you don't need to talk to them about siloing and site structure and stuff like that. You need to relate to them on a level that they can understand. And to give you an example of what we do, just so you can see how simple we make things for our client, and to be honest, it really adds no insight at all in terms of what we're going to perform from a search engine optimization perspective. But I'm going to read to you verbatim 2 points that I took directly out of our SEO presentation. Now, when I'm sitting with a prospect and I'm about to explain what SEO is about, this is exactly what I say to them. SEO comes down to two things: stuff that happens on your website by a bunch of programming geeks that understand code and attend Star Trek conventions. That is about 30% of the equation. The other 70% is stuff that happens off your website, like backlinks. Do you know what a backlink is? They say no. You say, of course you don't. A backlink is like a word of mouth referral in real life. If you're good in real life, people will recommend your service. If you're good on the internet, people will link to your website. It's a signal that you're cool, and because you're cool, Google loves you. So they bump you up the rankings. We make sure that you're the coolest in school. That is all I talk about on SEO. I don't go into anything else at all. We don't go into URL structure. We don't go into permalinks. We don't go into any of that. We keep it simple because, again, they already know the value of the service, and all I have to do is get it to click in their mind and get them to believe that I'm the one that can deliver those results. The second that we stopped trying to really drive in to the nitty-gritty, and the second we stopped confusing our clients, our conversion rates went through the roof. In fact, the stat is we went from about a 9% conversion. When we changed that one slide, we went from a 9% conversion to a 54% conversion. That was a huge impact on our bottom line, and it was just a simple shift in one slide. So again, never confuse your buyer. A confused buyer does not buy. Now, sorry, Kev, go ahead.
Real quick to just kind of back up for a second, because a number of people asked this question,
Sure.
and I want to address it before we move on
Yeah, that's
farther and
great.
not have people stuck there. So somebody's new and they don't have an infrastructure in place themselves yet,
Yeah.
or they don't have a base of clients that they can point to results about. What would be your recommendation for that person to create that point of differentiation?
That's an absolutely amazing question. So the first thing that we did, or what I did, because it was single at that point, I went out there and basically, like I said, my primary service at that point was search engine optimization. So you got to take this into context. But basically what I did was I put together a really good looking website. And because I couldn't perform services for clients, because I couldn't get a meeting at this point, nobody wanted to listen to me, and I really had nothing in the market to give them a reason to listen to me. What I did was I spent quite a bit of time building out a website for myself and getting that to rank well. And so the first 6 clients that I landed those simply by pointing at the results I had produced for my own website. So in this case, we ranked very well for the term search engine, SEO Toronto. So I would simply point at the client and say, listen, if I can rank amongst my competitors, don't you think I could rank amongst your competitors? And that single line was probably the key to me landing my first 6 clients. After that, what I realized is there's a lot more value in showing what you can do for a client than there is what you can do for yourself. So that's why our point of differentiation changed. And that's important to note. Our point of differentiation has changed 5 or 6 times over the last 3 years. So you got to continue to stay relevant. It's never static. But hopefully that will give you an idea. So for instance, let's say you're in the game of developing websites for clients. Put together a really beautiful website. Walk the client through it. Show them how the design aesthetic appeals, how the structure that's been put in place to help with conversion. Again, just show that you're an expert. And if you can't do it by pointing towards somebody else, do it by pointing at what you've done for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would add to that is You can also use any number of like the results and advanced methods that we teach. Of you could do the same thing for getting a video ranked or a press release ranked, and start doing some of those not only for yourself but for maybe some friends of yours that have a business or for anything. And that now you have some other assets that you can point to of some of the results that you're creating.
Yep. No, I'd completely agree with that. What you're trying to do when you get your start, and it doesn't matter how small your portfolio is, but you do need one item in your portfolio. Otherwise, you're a complete unknown entity, and you're not giving anybody any reason to trust you and to move forward with you and to invest in you. So, find one thing that you can do, whether it's for a friend, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for a family. Work for free. I did a lot of work for free in the beginning trying to develop a portfolio. And you'll see as soon as you have one or two wins behind your belt, the whole game shifts and it gets a lot easier.
And two other quick things I'd add to that is, like you said, is just go out and get that first client. It doesn't have to be the ideal client. It doesn't have to pay you the ideal amount of money. Maybe you just do it through barter, or maybe you offer to do it at your cost, so that they're just covering whatever costs you have to do this for them. And the whole purpose of that first client is to gain the experience, and then in this case, create that result that you can point to. And then
Absolutely.
another thing that people could use is if you're using an outsourced team, like Super Simple Outsourcing that we offer, or any other outsourced team, you could point to that infrastructure that's in place. Like, hey, here's kind of like an overview of my team that I have. So like I go out and kind of pull together the best people based on the results I want to create. And you can point out like this team of 200 people. They have all these different specialties. Like you can create that infrastructure even if you're a solo entrepreneur because you have a team behind you, not necessarily your employees, but the who you source all the work to.
Absolutely, I think that's a really great point. And to emphasize what Kevin said, my first client I was that person, and my first client was $300 a month. And what I did do, because $300 a month was certainly not worth the amount of effort and time I was investing in this, but I also bartered free massages. It was a massage therapy studio, and so what I basically got was a free massage once a week and a $300 a month payment, and that was my first deal. So when you look at the numbers of where we are now, realize this was not achieved out of the gate. Hopefully you're going to be able to take some of the learnings and the insights and the trial and error that I've distilled down in our company now to be able to, kind of expedite the speed with which you get to the level that we're at now. That truly is my hope for everyone on this call. But we did not start at $1,700 a month for an average client transaction. The first 18 months, like I said, we were making less than $500 a month per client. So it certainly is an evolution, and you'll find that once you have a little bit more experience in the market and you have one or two wins under your belt which are so big for your confidence levels, you will be much more confident going in and kind of demanding a higher price point and really understanding the value and the worth that you have. Another thing that I don't think made into my slides, but it's really important, is whenever you're approaching a prospect and you're looking to develop a pricing strategy for them, always consider their transaction value. So for instance, you can charge a plastic surgeon a lot more than you can charge a dentist because a plastic surgeon's transaction value is literally tenfold what a dentist gets. A dentist gets $140 a visit. A transaction value for a plastic surgeon is like $5,000 and up. So, you really got to take a look at the value that you could be bringing to a company if they were to acquire 5 new clients because of you. And so, that's kind of how we play with our pricing. I actually don't establish any of our pricing until I'm sitting in the sales meeting across from the prospect because I haven't had a chance to figure them out and see what I think is the right value threshold. Do you have anything to add on top of that, Kev?
No, I think that's great. We can kind of keep moving forward.
Good stuff. Now, one of the things that I do, and this is so important, come prepared to the meeting. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone absolutely light up at the beginning of a meeting because I simply hand them a PowerPoint presentation that took me like 5 minutes to put together. When you take the time to come prepared, you're showing stability, reliability, and you're showing knowledge and the ability to dissect your market. It's so simple to do. All you have to do is name a competitor or two that they are potentially going to be aware of. And let's face it, these companies know who their competition is. They sit there and, for SEO, they go to Google to see who's ranking for the terms for their industry. So if you can point out a competitor or two, and you can point out where your prospect is failing. So what I like to do is I like to show them a competitor, and then I like to show them themselves, and then I like to show the difference in the gap in terms of quality and effort between the two. And all of a sudden, this is a really kind of a psychological hack. They already know that they're behind the game, but by pointing it out and letting them know that you know it too, it goes such a long way in terms of deflating their position of power. And it actually makes them realize that they need you. So 20 minutes of preparation in advance of a meeting will do wonders for you. The first couple meetings I did, I used to just walk in there and I would sit down and I would just talk to them face to face. And I did not close a single one of those sales. I think it was the third time I walked in with a PowerPoint presentation, I closed that sale. The first 2 times I walked in with a PowerPoint presentation, I still saw a huge shift in terms of their reaction. So when you come prepared, you give them the perception that you know your shit, and therefore it makes it much more difficult for them to devalue anything that you're sharing in the course of the sales meeting. I hope that makes sense, because that is extremely, extremely important. Now, the next positioning shift that we do within the meeting is what we call partnering up. Now, when you partner up with a prospect, it changes how they view you. It creates a we mentality, and it provides a lot of lenience when things aren't going well. Now, this is accomplished very, very simply by changing the vernacular in your presentation or what you're saying when you're meeting with a prospect, and changing it from us and you to we and partner. Now, one of the things that FreeFlow does is we also offer exclusivity as a stamp of our commitment to any partnership with any potential prospect. Of course, they have to pay for that, and they have to pay handsomely to get us exclusively and to take us off the market for any of their other competitors. But literally 6 out of 10 take that deal because they do not want me. If I've done my job at this point in the presentation where I'm starting to shift and become a partner rather than a vendor, they don't want to share me. They want to take me off the market. So 60% of them do. The other 40% may not take us off the market, but they love that they have the option to in the future. And to be honest, a significant number of people, after seeing some results through our services, end up circling back and asking us for exclusivity. So again, this is a huge shift and so simple to do in a sales presentation. We are absolutely awesome at what we do at FreeFlow. We truly are, but we're also human, and sometimes things don't go according to plan. There's times that we have not lived up to the expectations of our clients, and I know this. This positioning of changing from a vendor to a partner has earned us more contract extensions than I care to count, because to be honest, we may not have got those extensions because the results didn't necessarily make it an easy decision. But what I have found is that a vendor is disposable and easily replaceable. A partner is not. So do everything you can in that first initial meeting when they're forming their first impression of you to position yourself as a partner that is in their corner and is trying to help them succeed, rather than a vendor who is trying to get the most money out of them as possible and really does not care about their results. This will have a fundamental shift to your bottom line if you implement this correctly. I guarantee it.
So do you like specifically spell that out, or how do you get that point across?
Which point? The exclusivity?
This whole concept of partner, like helping them understand that you're partnering up and you're just not a vendor for them.
So we do it subtly throughout the course of the presentation, which leads to one slide at the end. So like I said, throughout the course of the presentation, we're changing the vernacular that we're using. We're using we and partner. Everything is coupled together. We're putting ourselves on the same side of the table as them. At the end, and I'm going to talk about this because this is where we try to cross-sell as well, But at the end of our presentation, one of the slides that we have is a slide called Why Us. And I apologize because there's going to be a little repetition because I do address this towards the end. But on that Why Us, it's 4 simple bullet points about our core values of what we bring. So the first one is the fact that we will actually deliver results, unlike a lot of people. And I've got to tell you, about 80% of our clients have come to us burnt from another vendor. So they come to us skeptical. They come to us in an untrusting state. So we let them know that we can deliver results. We let them know that we customize the pricing to ensure their highest ROI. And we let them know that we do offer exclusivity. Then we let them run with that. They will ask every single time, well, what do you mean by exclusivity? And so then we let them know, you know, we will provide a geographical exclusivity within a certain boundary so that we don't represent any of your competitors. And the reason why free flow is different in this way is a lot of businesses tend to choose a vertical like dental or chiropractor, and they represent 150 businesses in that vertical. Now, how do you decide who gets number 1 and who gets number 2 in Google? It's a conflict of interest. So we offer exclusivity so that we can give that to our partners so that they understand we're truly in their corner. After saying that, I can almost guarantee, well, our results are 60% of the time someone says, okay, I want to take the exclusivity. Does that make sense, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely.
Are there any questions coming up on the chat board about that?
Well, I'm trying to save questions to the end.
Okay,
so
good.
There's...
Okay. Yeah, if there's anything pressing that you think we'll lose because we've moved too far down the road, then stop me. Otherwise, we'll just hold questions to the end. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. I promise not too much longer to go. Now, the next thing is so important, and it's important for your sanity and for mine. Quality the shit out of your prospect, okay? And I apologize for swearing, but let me give you a few ideas on how I create a tremendous amount of value and how I position myself to be a high-price partner rather than a low-cost vendor. Now, when I present my PowerPoint presentation, it is printed on the most expensive paper I can find. It literally feels like silk in the hands. And every time I hand a prospect it, I'm dead serious, by page 5, 80% of them have said, this is really nice paper. Again, small things like this, textural touches, all of this communicates quality. I use my tablet for my presentation because it's cool, hip, digital, it makes me look super futuristic. I take notes on my tablet using voice and my slick stylus pen because, again, it makes me look really cool. I pull my business card out of a shiny silver, thin silver case because when I do that, that means I must be good. I give top-notch advice for free, and I don't water anything down in that initial meeting and on that first impression. I would literally give away the best advice that I have to create as much value as possible in that prospect's mind. Advice that literally my consulting clients pay me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for. Very similar to what I'm doing on this webinar here. I'm dumping a ton of value that literally my consulting clients pay me a considerable amount of money to get coaching from. Now, I've totally digressed, but the point that I'm trying to make is if you are to command higher prices, you have to convey quality in everything you do. Every single touch point your prospect or your client has with you needs to deliver on that idea or on that concept of quality. And the reason why I have the slide up that I do is because when you're thinking about quality, I want you to think about Apple. Because their product, and I'm a PC user, so this doesn't come easily to me, but Mac has a great product. And when you touch and you feel it, it creates an experience. And everyone will say that Apple is synonymous with quality. So what you want to do is you want to create that Apple-like experience in that interaction that you have with your client. Now, once you've created that value and they're starting to see, okay, this guy is good or girl is good, they're going to be, it's definitely worth the extra price. The most important thing that you can do is set your expectations. Now, this will save your mind. In my opinion, this is the most important thing that I do. And it's that way for two reasons. When we do web development, we tell them it's 3 months to finish the website. When we do SEO, we tell them it will take between 4 to 8 months to see results. When we do social media marketing, we tell them it will take at least a year to really corral your community around you. This does two things. It buys you time without getting any client hassles, and I can speak from experience. A bad client will literally suck the soul out of you. There's nothing worse, and ultimately there is no money that is worth taking on a bad client. That's speaking from experience. Almost everyone, every single prospect or every new purchase at some point in the first 2 months will have a moment of buyer's remorse. That's just, it's a very human reaction. It's human psychology. It's bound to happen. By setting the expectations, you have actually given them peace of mind, since you've let them know when is the right time to be alarmed or panic if things aren't as they hoped. And it certainly is not on day 3 after signing the contract. So by setting expectations, you've greatly simplified your life, you've bought yourself some leeway, and always set your expectation in a way that you know you can deliver against. It falls down to that under promise and over deliver sort of thing. When we set the expectations of 3 months for web development, we're aiming for 6 weeks, so we've given ourselves a lot of buffer room. If we deliver sooner, we just look like superstars. It becomes a bonus. It only solidifies that we were the right choice in their decision. Likewise with SEO and SMM. Any sort of result that kind of rolls in before the expectation only makes you look like a superstar. So take the time to set your expectations. It buys you time. It buys you a lot of peace of mind. And again, it sets you up for success. Once we've injected them with a big dose of realism and what it actually will take to see results, only now and only now is it time to talk budget. Now, I want you to notice that I said budget and not price. And this is single-handedly the most important slide. Everyone that has hung into this point and listened to me ramble on, this is where you're going to get your biggest value. Budget versus pricing. And this is a fight, okay? This is single-handedly the biggest dance in the sales presentation. They want to get a price out of you. At this point, if you've done everything that I've told you, you've convinced them that you're an expert, you've convinced them that you can deliver results, you convinced them that you're a partner in the process, you've convinced them that you're worth more money than the average vendor. Now what you need to do is you need to get an idea of what that price is actually going to be. And like I said, up to this point, I still have not formulated pricing with that prospect yet. Now, like I said, they want to get a price out of you, but what you really want to try to do is get a budget out of them. They don't want to overpay, which is why they want a price from you. You don't want to leave money on the table, which is why you want to get an idea of what their budget is. This is where most people fall down, and I just can't believe how incorrect a lot of pricing strategies really are. Let's get something straight right here. Every small local business has a marketing budget. It's something that they understand. It's something that they're used to. It's something that they account for every single year when they are planning for their business. But the difference is the average the average business owner is putting their budget into direct mail and trade shows. And what will surprise you, and this will hopefully get everyone really excited, and when I first realized this, and this came from just an insight from sitting with a prospect, we were talking about budget and other marketing activities, and he let it slip. And this was a guy that was relatively small. I think his business was only about $300,000 a year, so it wasn't a huge business, but still a decent size. He let it slip that he spends $45,000 a year on trade shows. And then he openly admitted that those trade shows deliver less and less clients every single year because he knew that people were starting to find his competitors and businesses like his by simply Googling it. So all of a sudden I realized that I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get someone to part with $300 a month. but they have $45,000 planned for this sort of marketing activity. And they're willing to spend that in a space that they know is dying. So it dawned upon me, if I can actually deliver results and better results than what they're going to get from a trade show, why the hell couldn't I get that $45,000? And this was the shift of when I started to ask for a much higher price, because I realized I was killing myself for $300, and at the end of the day, that was just throwaway money for them. I wanted to get at that big planned budget, that $45,000. That's just under $4,000 a month. You can start landing clients like that. Your life is going to change dramatically. And the one thing that I can tell you is you don't need a lot of clients when you can command prices this high. And that's really important for people to know. Everyone may be looking at the fact that my business has 160 clients, but I can tell you, you can carve a really nice life out with 15 clients at $2,000 a month. That's a $300,000 income. And if you can manage 15 clients by yourself or with the team of one, the profitability on that is absolutely insane. So I really want you to start thinking about trying to get a budget out of a consumer before they start asking you for price. Now, this also emphasizes the shift thought from vendor to partner. Vendor has a price. A partner executes against a budget. So ask them for a budget. And you have to pick your timing well. And we always try to lead this conversation, because if we let them say the word price before we can say budget, we're now catching up on lost time. And at this point, if they're convinced and you've done everything that I've told you well, and they're convinced that you're the right person for them, they will want to talk about price pretty quickly. So you have to really kind of learn to gauge when is the time to bring up that budget conversation. So you really have to pay attention to that. Now, by asking them for a budget, like I said, you shift. This is a shift in mentality of what we call from salesman to servant. When you explain that there are, of course, a variety of different strategy and methods that you could go about to implement their website design, their social media campaign, their SEO, whatever it is. And the only resources that you are limited by is our master, the budget. All of a sudden, this creates a shift in their mind that they're no longer thinking that that money is a matter of margin or profit on your end, but rather the fuel that is going to be what their business engine runs on. Now, I know that's not the best of analogies, but I really hope you kind of get me. The shift in mentality is from spending money to investing money. This I learned while I was in the corporate world. Whenever we would talk about our marketing budget, we wouldn't talk about the millions of dollars we were going to spend on TV and radio. We would always refer to it as our investment in the brand. It's a simple but extremely, extremely powerful shift. You need to get them to realize that this is not a sunk cost in you, but rather an investment in their own business that you're just helping them out with. Now, you're not always going to get a budget, and I just want to say that right now, okay? Sometimes, and despite how good we are at this, I would honestly say a good 30% of the time we still can't get a budget out of them. They just don't want to do that dance. So when you do have to go to price, make sure you provide a range. And when you provide them a range, and I'm talking a big range, when people force me for a price on SEO, I tell them we can do something anywhere between $700 a month and $70,000 a month. Give them a big range. What you're trying to do is gauge their reaction to the high price point. Simple as that. Do they have a violent reaction and bust out into hives? Then you may want to go to the lower end of the spectrum. But if they're nodding, they realize, again, that there are a variety of methods of implementation. And again, you are only confined by the budget. So this is your market research. And the reason why I don't do any sort of pricing strategy before I walk into a sales meeting anymore is because that is the very moment that I'm trying to get them to. Now, once I see the reaction, never in a million years do I give them a number on the spot. Never. I always tell them that we need to do some market research first, and we'll get back to them in a day or two. When we do present our pricing, one of the most successful strategies we apply is, and I seriously hope everyone's paying attention, because if this whole webinar was a complete waste of time in your mind, right now is where you're going to get an insane amount of value. I'm going to give you 4 words that are going to make your entire time investment you made today to spend it with Kevin and I absolutely worth it. It's we could, and we would. I'm going to repeat that. We could and we would. Now, what this means is, again, when we come back and we're forced to present pricing without getting a budget, we present a we could scenario. We could is the budget conscious effort. This is staying at the lower end of the spectrum and staying in a realm that you know your prospect is comfortable with. You don't want to polarize them and push them away because of the pricing, okay? And if you come in too high, you're certainly going to push them away. A lot of the times when I started jacking up my pricing, a lot of people did walk away just because it was too expensive for them, because I didn't really have the right temperature of where their comfortability zone was. So what I started to do was I started to present the we could, we would scenario. And that we could is very budget focused. You know, it's kind of, it's a humble price. You're happy with the margin that you're getting, but you know it's not going to shock and awe them, or shock and cause terror within them. But then the we would scenario, we present as the budget that entails everything that we would do with our knowledge if it was our business ourselves. All of a sudden, they start to realize that, wait a second, these guys know what they're talking about. I believe that they can deliver for my company, and they're saying that I should play in this realm. Now, you may not always get the we would scenario, but I can tell you over 80% of the time, it lands somewhere in between the we could and the we would if it does not land on the we would. So what you're doing is you're providing a low budget conscious price point and then an aggressive price point. Do that in your next sales meeting and watch how many times or how often people choose the we would scenario. This was the single biggest factor in establishing our pricing point, because once we started doing this, we stopped polarizing people because of price, and that's why we have a close rate that's over 90%. It's because we can present very aggressive pricing, but we do it in a very subtle way that gives them the option. And if you've informed and you've educated and you've convinced them that you're the right person, they will spend that money because they also know that this is an investment in their business and not a sunk cost in a vendor. So that is absolutely crucial in your sales process. Again, if you ignore 9 out of the 10 points that I shared with you today, and I'll recap them at the end of this, so don't worry about that, but if you ignore 9 out of the 10, let this be the one that you pay attention to, because this will have an immediate impact on your bottom line. I guarantee it. Now, once you have established the pricing, it's really important that you do one last thing, and that is a cross-sell. Now, no one in the world is better than this than McDonald's. A simple question. Would you like fries with that? Do you know how many billions of dollars that impacts on the bottom line every single year for McDonald's? Simple. And it's such a simple process. So Kevin had asked a question a little bit earlier about, you know, how do we give that, or how do we convey our position of partnership? And like I said, we land, after all is said and done, and we've had that discussion, we land on a slide that says, why free flow? And it's 4 simple bullet points, because to be honest, I'm not trying to convince them of why free flow is the right option for them. I know that if they're still listening to me at this stage of the sales process, that they're completely on board. All we need to do is find a price point that both sides are comfortable with, and you're good to go. And that's why the we could, we would comes in and works really, really, really well. But what we're doing on this why us is very simple. We've informed them throughout the course of the project, and we've already shown what the competition is doing. So if we're talking about SEO, let's say we point to a video that's ranking in the search engines, or a function on a competitor's website, or if we're talking about social media, you know, a social contest that's taking place in the market. If we're talking about SEO, I make sure to show them something video related, web related, or social related. If we're talking about web design, I make sure to show them something about video or SEO or social media. So again, I'm always cross-pollinating the services that we have to offer. Now, if you've set the expectations and you hit them with the why us speech, you've already done everything properly. They're already sold on you. You're not actually trying to convince them. This is where you now present. And by the way, we can also do all of this for you. So there's no need as you grow to engage with multiple vendors. We can be a one-stop shop. You show them a page of all of the different services that you can have to offer. And if it's only one other, that's cool. I'll show them one other. When we were only selling SEO, the first thing that we started to cross-pollinate and cross-sell was web design, because we realized we were getting a lot of requests for that when we were talking about SEO. Like I said, this all came through a lot of trial and error and in a really natural way. This isn't theory that we're just pontificating upon. Like, this is actually results from the market. And so it doesn't matter how many services you have to offer, but show them one other service and advise on how you can support them on more in the future when the time is right and their business is growing, and so on and so forth. It's a very non-aggressive way. It shows that, again, you're in their corner and you're not trying to sell them everything out of the gate. And if you do this properly, I can almost guarantee you the prospect will ask you, can you do that for me now too? So remember, when you get to the end and you're giving the why us speech, make sure you cross-pollinate that with, would you like fries with that? You will be surprised, and I'll actually share, this cross-pollination or this cross-selling actually delivers 1.4 million to our bottom line every single year out of the 3.2. So that is a significant number and a significant amount of revenue that we would not be getting if we did not take the opportunity to sell a second service at the tail end of us selling the original service. Get them when they're ready to buy. If they're convinced, they will buy more than one thing. Absolutely crucial to your success. And then the last slide that I would like to share with you guys is really be the change. Now, what I mean by that is much of what I've covered here is really, really simple. Much of it is common sense. But I'm honestly going to ask you, how many of you are actually practicing this in your day-to-day? And I realize there's some on the call that have 0 clients that are looking for their first one. Maybe they have a handful. Maybe they've got 20. Maybe they have 100. I don't care. Ask yourself this question. How much of what I've told you to do are you actually practicing in your day-to-day? And I will bet you are actually implementing less than 50% of the strategies that I've talked about. My fear is because they're so simple, and I've tried to keep them simple so that they were relevant regardless of where you were in your business, regardless of the service that you had to sell, regardless of where you are. This is stuff that you can immediately apply. So don't underestimate the significance that these tweaks and hacks can have in your business if you use them. Be different in your market. Be the change your customers so badly want and need. I can tell you they will actually look at you with a sigh of relief as they hand you a big check. And it wasn't 2 weeks ago that I received a down payment, $14,000, and it came with a thank you note, which was, I have to admit, a first, but it was a thank you note for spending the time with them to educate them on how I can help them improve their business. Notice the wording. They thanked me for the education. That was a sales meeting. So stop being like everybody else. Stop being the Me Too's. Stop doing everything that you will find on the Warrior Forum. And believe me, I've bought more of the Warrior Forum courses than I care to admit. I have bought all of this to try to find my way. But I started to find massive success when I stopped trying to mimic every other vendor in the market. And I tried to be an individual partner to our clients. When you do that, you give them a reason to pay you more, and they will love you for it. Now, I know this is a lot to absorb. Some of you may be wondering how to implement this, and some of you may actually want just a bullet point summary. So what I'm willing to do, and Kevin, I didn't speak with you about this before, but let me know if you're okay with this. I've set up a private email specifically for those on this webinar. What I would like to extend all of you in exchange for spending this afternoon with Kevin and I and trying to help make our industry a more viable, long-term, sustainable place, what I'm willing to do is I would answer one of your most pressing business questions. This could be how to land your first client. This could be about how to up your pricing. This could be about how to implement some of the 10 different hacks that I've shared with you today. So if Kevin's okay with that, what we'll do is post up that private email that's only for people on this webinar, and then you guys can email me. Now, please, I don't know how many emails I'll get, and I'm obviously a very busy guy running my business in the day-to-day, but what I will promise is even if it does take me a little bit of time, I will get back to you personally, and I will do everything that I can to try to help you with whatever is your most pressing local marketing business issue. How does that sound, Kevin?
I think that is amazing. So thank you very much for offering to do that for everybody.
No, absolutely willing to do it. Again, I love this community. I get really frustrated when I see so many people struggle. It's a few small tips and tricks, but this can be such an easy business. There's a reason why, we're spending less time focusing on the big multi-million-dollar corporate budgets, and we're starting to shift a lot of our attention and a lot of our effort into this local space. It's absolutely blue ocean. It is an unlimited amount of opportunity. The number of businesses that open on a monthly basis is staggering. So there is more than enough room for all of us in this market. And if we all start acting smarter and we start implementing the changes that will make this a longer, more sustainable run for those that are in the market, we only all do better. And this will, to be honest, I don't have to explain the $250 vendor anymore, because we're all out there asking for 4 figures or more per month. So, anything that I could do to help bring this community and this industry into a more positive place, like what you're doing with Lima, Kevin, I'm more than happy to do.
All right. So how did you want to go about doing that? The special email address?
So I don't know. I would bounce that right back to you. Apparently, I'm not quite very slick when it comes to the whole GoToWebinar thing. So do we post the email on the chat box? Like, how would you suggest? Would you send it out after? What do you think's best?
Is there a way to just show it on your screen?
I believe there is, since we're working in hack mode right now. What we'll do is I'll just insert a text box here, and there it is for everyone. It's just sitting at the bottom underneath Be the Change. You can reach me at wilkie@freeflowmarketing.ca. Like I said, I will help everyone with one question. Please do be patient. Again, I don't know if I'm going to get 10 emails. I don't know if I'm going to get 1,000 emails. I know we had there was a lot of interest in this topic, and I know we had a lot of people on the webinar. So, but what I do promise is you will get a personal response from me with the most value add that I can possibly give you.
All right, that's awesome. And I added the email to the chat box for everybody, so you can see it there.
That's awesome. Thanks.
So what we're going to do is take questions in a minute, but first, a couple things. One, could you go through a quick recap of what the 10 things are that you covered? Just like the quick
Absolutely.
recap of what those are?
Absolutely. And what I'll do is, for everyone who emails me, I'll actually send you a slide with the 10 bullet points so that you can have it in front of you as a constant reinforcement whenever you're sitting there looking at your sales presentation or getting ready for a meeting. So in summary, the first point was shift the balance of power immediately. The first thing you got to do. And the example that I gave was when it comes to SEO, I simply educate a prospect on how there is more than one service on a Google page. They look at it as one page of results. I see three very distinct services. So right away, you want to shift the balance of power immediately and let them know that you're the expert, not them. They need to listen to you and do what you say. Number two, once you have shifted that balance, you need to create your point of differentiation. Again, the rationalization is going to be that every web provider, social media manager, community manager, video marketer, SEOer, everyone will know what you've just shared. So you need to stop that rationalization from forming in the prospect's mind. So create your point of differentiation. Number three, stop selling your service. Nobody cares about the technicality of SEO. That's why they're hiring you. Nobody gets it. That's why we're considered geeks. Okay? Stop selling your service, which leads to point number four, start selling yourself instead. Again, they are there to buy you. They're spending time to size you up. If they're going to meet with you in person and take an hour out of their day to do so, you don't need to convince them on the power of being on the web. They already know it. What you need to do is convince them of the power of the value you drive. So sell yourself, not your service. 5, educate them, but don't confuse them. And I don't mean to say this in any way that's derogatory. In many areas, our clients are much smarter than us when it comes to their professions, but we're experts in our space. Our job is to make it stupid simple so that the most technophobe can understand what we're talking about. And again, I'll reemphasize what we say for our SEO is, we break it down to on-site and off-site. On-site is geeky stuff, off-site is popularity. It's as simple as that. The second we stopped trying to actually educate on the technicality of what we do, we started converting a lot more. 6, come prepared. I don't care what it is. It can be the smallest thing, but show you have taken time and you have invested effort for this meeting. It will qualify that they are talking to the right vendor, partner in this case, and it will also show you that it'll show them that you know your shit. If you can give them one aha moment and confirm something they already know, you have got them hook, line, and sinker. I guarantee it. They will not walk away. 7, quality the shit out of them. Every single touch point that they have needs to convey high value in every single way. If you're going to ask them for $5,000 a month, they need to understand why it's $5,000 a month. And some of that will be convincing from you. A lot of it will be all of the subtle non-verbal communication touch points that you have. So for instance, like I said, the quality of the paper of the presentation. Like, this stuff is really expensive. Like, I don't use it for anything but the sales presentation, but it literally feels like silk in the hands. Like, you can't help but notice when you touch the paper. It's absolutely unreal. So quality them in every single facet, in every single touch point, in every interaction that they have with you. Make sure that you are conveying that quality and justifying your higher price point. 8, talk budget, never price. If price comes out of your mouth in a sales presentation, according to our statistics, you have decreased your likelihood of closing that sale by 64%. Do not ever say price. Always say budget. They can say price all they want. That's fine. Always return with budget. 9, set the expectations. This does nothing more than buy you breathing room. Like I said, I did not do this at the beginning, and it always amazed me how quickly people thought results were going to roll in. My second client, I still remember, a heated phone call on day 4 because they weren't ranked #1 yet. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's ridiculous. So always set your expectations. It's going to put them in the right mind state. It's going to help them get through buyer remorse, which every single human will face. And it gives you breathing room so that you can deliver. And remember, always set your expectations in a way that you can under-promise and over-deliver every single time. It'll make you look like an absolute rock star. We actually just got a client that came through word of mouth. They were developing a new e-commerce website a website that was able to handle online transactions for their catering business. They dealt with 2 web programmers. Both of them was not able to complete the project. They came to us and basically said, we heard of you from this client, and they say you are the best. The reason why we're the best is because we put up a website 2 weeks ahead of scheduled time. That's all we did, and all of a sudden we're the frickin' best. So you would be surprised how much setting expectations and then delivering against those expectations will do in terms of your reputation in the market. And again, everything that we do to acquire clients, of course, word of mouth is always the easiest, and it's always the most lucrative because they're coming already pre-sold. So remember, set expectations. And then finally, the 10th thing that you need to do is cross-sell. The second we started introducing other services, the second we started to sell those other services in the original sales meeting, our bottom line spiked through the roof. And again, that accounts for 1.4 out of our 3.2 now, those cross sells. So Kevin, I know it's a popular theory and strategy in the online world. I think we've all bought a product that we were sent to some sort of upsell. I'm sure everyone on the webinar has been through one of those. It works so well in the offline world and in the local consultant space. This will be one of your biggest tickets to success. So those are the 10 things.
Awesome. Well, thanks for recapping that for everybody. And like I said, we're going to take questions in just a minute. But first, one, I'd like to know if you found a lot of value from this. And if you found a lot of value from this, please type in the chat box your appreciation for Corey. He took time out of his business to come on here and deliver some of the 3 years of hard-fought knowledge and wisdom on what works based on doing a lot of stuff that doesn't work. So a lot of people had already typed in your appreciation. So just go ahead and hopefully you can see the chat box and see a ton of amazing messages come flying through right now.
I'm actually reading. I'm seeing a lot of shout outs to happy birthday. So again, Kev, happy birthday.
Oh.
What most people don't know is his birthday was yesterday, and Kevin is. Oh, yeah, I think you did quite well for being probably in a rough state.
So you got to scroll all the way to the bottom. So you're
Yeah.
seeing the top. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's probably a couple hundred messages that are coming in right now.
Oh, I forgot to. I moved a little too quickly, but I did see someone ask the question, do they take exclusivity before seeing results? The answer to that is yes. Absolutely. So I missed the name and I can't seem to find that again. But yes, absolutely. People do take exclusivity before they see results. And of course, there's always an additional charge for exclusivity. You have to get them to understand that they are effectively taking you off the market. And while you're not going to make them pay like 4 times the fee, obviously, you know, there is a loss that you're accepting to be their partner, and you're okay with that. But you obviously need to be compensated for that. Everyone will understand. And again, if you've done a good job in presenting the way that you have, people will honestly believe that they need to keep you locked up in their closet as their secret weapon. So yes, they will pay for it, and yes, you do need to charge for it.
All right, so hopefully you were able to scroll down and see everybody typing in their appreciation for this.
Absolutely. This is great, guys.
Next, I want to do a quick little poll, and then I will share how you can get the recording on this. So on the poll side, Corey and I have been talking about the idea that he just has this desire, like, of he's helping small businesses, but he also wants to kind of give back and help people that are in a local marketing agency. He's kind of learned a lot on how to be highly successful and build a really great business doing this. And what you heard today, I don't know, maybe it's like 5% of what you actually know and do in your whole business. Like how you get your leads and prospects is mind-blowing. Like when you explain that to me, it's just absolutely amazing. And what we've been thinking about and kind of toying around and would be curious if there's interest for this is Corey would, instead of working with like hundreds of people and doing some like in-personal webinars and trainings and products and like that, he would rather sit down with a small exclusive group of people up there at his offices in Toronto with his core team there and work hands-on in a small group setting to basically replicate his business into your business. So putting in place his whole prospecting and lead generation system that works literally on autopilot. And I was trying to remember the stats that you gave me. It's like, what is it, like 70% of your prospects turn into meetings, and then 95% of those close into deals.
Yeah, that's about right.
So it's just, it blew my mind. And then create your own customized presentations, like you'd leave with your own slides that you're delivering and know how to deliver it expertly, how to scale it up and build a team of people around you, the right outsource, like all this, and basically replicate Corey's whole business, customized specifically for you. So I'm going to put up a little poll based on that very limited knowledge. Would you be interested in a very high impact, personal, small group setting workshop with pre-training, follow-up training, and getting Corey's whole prospecting system that you get to use exclusively for yourself, knowing that it would, because it's small, exclusive, and the value is so high, would you be interested in something like that? It's definitely not for everybody, and that's perfectly okay. This is not for somebody just getting started. This is somebody that wants to like really aggressively grow their business and is willing to make an investment in that. So I know this is not for everybody, but I'm just kind of curious because this is something that Corey and I have been talking about potentially doing, and would just wonder what other people think of this. So a lot of answers are coming in, and again, it's perfectly okay if this is not, if you're not at the right phase of your business to need something like that. So I'm going to give 5 more seconds, and then I'll kind of close this down. And thank you, everybody, for just giving us a little feedback on that. Really appreciate it. Next, so when I shared Corey's story with you leading up to this, talked about how he has this 95% close rate because of his sales process, which he walked you through. But also another part of his story is he locks people into a 12-month contract from day one. And that's something that almost nobody does in the marketplace and nobody talks about in the marketplace.
Which
And then
blows my mind.
you said like you can't comprehend why would anybody not do a long-term contract that you lock people in. And when I told you,
I would not take on any single client without a 12-month commitment, plain and simple. Like, that's nuts.
and then at the end of 12 months, you have like 99% renewal. Like there's only one client that has not renewed after the 12 months.
Yeah.
And then through that whole period, you are upselling them into other things. So
Absolutely.
who would be interested in help me talk Corey into coming in and doing a follow-up training just for exclusively for Lima members on how he actually locks people into a 12-month contract. I imagine that would have a big impact for a lot of people. And this is like a high price premium. Like on average, they're paying, I think is it $1,700, some more, some less.
Yeah, they go all over, but on average it's $1,700. So we're, the average contract value is about $20,000 that we lock them into for the year.
And then retain them a long term after the that contract, and then upsell them into other high price stuff all along. So if you would be interested in that, then type this in. And would you be willing to do a follow-up for? It's funny reading people's comments.
I'm watching the results here. This is awesome. It definitely seems like there's an interest in this, Kevin.
So I am going to volunteer for Corey to come back next month and do a training on that, because talking before this, you said that's such a core of what you do that you can't comprehend showing people how to do the sales without that follow-up part. So is this something that you would love to come back and do for the Lima members?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I had a lot more fun than I thought I was going to have on the webinar. I was really nervous before I came on this thing, but I think this was good. It seems like there's a lot of interest. I would love to share our approach on how we go about locking down those 12-month contracts. Again, it will do such a tremendous amount for everyone's business when you start to get that security. And what I can tell you is if you can lock someone in for a while and develop that relationship with them over the 12 months, that's a key component on why our retention rate is so high. And actually, Kevin, what you don't know is on Tuesday, I actually locked down my first 3-year contract. I was just, shooting for it. I didn't think I was going to get it, but I put it out there. And they bit. They were so convinced that we were the right partner for their business that they signed, a 3-year contract worth over 6 figures. So, I would love to come back and definitely distill that upon, the community, because again, once we start all acting in a more sustainable manner, this industry is just going to become so much stronger. I'd love to be instrumental in kind of that change. So, very much like the slide we're looking at, be the change. If I can help incite that change in some of the community members here, I'd love to.
Well, that is awesome. Very grateful that you did this for everybody, and that you're going to do that follow up for Lima members. So let me just spend a couple minutes and let everybody know how to be a Lima member, because I imagine there's some people that would want to get the recording and additionally get next month's follow-up training. So let me just switch this over to me real quick. Where's me? Make presenter. So I'll just quickly go through how to become a Lima member and what that actually means, because a number of people before were asking that. So one, you're going to get the recording of this training, plus you're going to get access to the live follow-up training that we do next month on what we talked about. By being a local internet marketing association, so I call it Lima for short, gold member. It's the official association for ethical local marketers. And so one, you're going to get all the silver benefits. That's normally $49.95 a month. So that's our print newsletter. So every month we go out, research what's happening in the industry right now, and create a 12-page newsletter that's mailed to your door. So you can get that newsletter that's giving you all the latest news, breakthroughs, what's really working, case studies, and then also an audio CD where I go out and interview, do an in-depth hour-long interview to get somebody that's making over 100,000 plus a year in local marketing to share exactly how they're doing it. So that is just amazing insights and gold nuggets that you leave on that audio interview that you get every month. Then you get to use the Lima seal of approval on your website and all your marketing, on your proposals, like anything. As long as you're a member, you get to use our seal of approval, and you also have a member's profile page that you can link to at the site. And the public site for Lima is actually designed to sell you as a local marketing consultant. So when you go to the Lima site, it's all talking about why a business owner should choose somebody that's a member of Lima. So it's another credibility tool for you. Also, a common problem I see with people that leave their job and go full time is one, it's an awesome transformation in your life, but now your biggest concern is health insurance. So we have a group health insurance for Lima members they can take part in. We have a done-for-you website that if you don't have your own professional site, we will set one up for you. Also comes with a marketing video on there. You get access to all of our outsourcing at discounted member pricing. We have a whole learning center that has a ton of past training that we've done that you have unlimited access to. And then we do 3 live coaching calls and training calls a month. 2 are Q&A. And then 1 is like this. So every month we have an in-depth content-only training of this kind of caliber that you just got today. And then you get access to some software. So this is a local ranking report generation software. So let me just show you very briefly what that actually means. Here, let me flip this over. So a business owner can go to this, or you can do it on your own. They're going to enter their phone number right here, and when they enter their phone number, it's going to give them a report showing them what their online presence looks like. So I did a search for cosmetic surgeons here in New York, and this is the #1 ranked one that showed up. So you see it gives yellow means it needs work. So this is all about them over here, and it's like red, yellow, green. So even the top one has some red things going on, some stuff that needs work, and then it has a lot of green. Over here, it's all about their competitors, so who is getting that business right now. So let me show you one that was not ranking well. So this is actually a pay-per-click advertiser, so I pulled their number. And the funny thing is their online presence from an SEO standpoint is all jacked up because Google thinks that they're a medical billing company when they're a cosmetic surgeon company. So obviously they're getting no organic results. And then here's another one that was several pages in, so you can see a lot of yellows and reds. And then there's a video explaining the results and all this. So this is a valuable marketing and sales tool that you can use ongoing, and you get unlimited access to this as a member. So you can generate as many reports as you want. And business owner can go here at 24/7 and create their own report for their business, and you can generate them yourself as well. So you're going to get the ranking report software training, and then also you're going to get niche reports. So people always ask what's the best niches. So every month we give you a high value niche that has a high customer value, a high search volume, and then we show you a whole research on that niche. So you get this debrief of what the niche is like, and then you get the keyword research for that niche, and you get one of those every single month. So to go out and pay somebody to do that research for you would cost several $100s every month to get that kind of insight. There's actually services out there where it's I think I paid $1,000 to get a research report on the niche that we're involved in. So that's a highly valuable. And then you have a client newsletter. So we have a pre-written client newsletter that you can either mail to your clients in the mail, you can send it as a PDF, and you can customize it with your own branding and everything else. So you get a done for you client newsletter to add value to your clients. So when you're a gold member, you get the ranking report software, the niche report, the client newsletter, the monthly print newsletter that's mailed to you with the audio CD, the seal of approval, profile page, health insurance, website, all this stuff. And you can try it out for 30 days for just $1.50. And when you do that, you're going to get this recording plus next month's bonus training that Corey's going to come back and do for all you. Just go to localima.org/gold special. I'll type that in the chat box for everybody real quick.
Jesus, Kevin, that made me want to join Lima. Honestly, that's a tremendous amount of value.
Yeah, so you can try it out for 30 days, get the recording, get next month's training, see that this is a right fit for you, and then on a let me get back. There we go. And then you get the special charter member pricing. So normally it's $99.95. If you go to the public site, that's what normal public pays. Because you're on this webinar, I'm going to give you a lifetime $20 discount. So it's $79.95. When you go to this page right here, you're going to get a $20 a month lifetime discount after your 30-day trial. So everybody should try it out, see that if it's the right fit for you or not, and to get the recording and get next month's bonus training. And with that, let's take some questions real quick. I know this has gone long, so I want to value people's time, but there's like a handful I just saw repeated, so I'm just going to ask you those and go from there. So where did I type those in? Real quick, let me find where I put those in my notes. Oh. So you talked a lot about like you're doing this in person, meeting somebody in person, but I also know that you do this long distance as well, when you don't meet people in person. So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your question.
So how do you like show the value and create that quality experience, and then also do this long distance?
Well, that's why those 10 bullet points that I summarized at the end are so important. Because when I got started, obviously I was growing out of my backyard, so I had the opportunity to kind of meet everyone face to face. But there's a good chunk of sales now that happens, and we don't have that face to face environment. We've got clients all over the world at this point. So the amazing thing is, we'll very much still conduct the sales meeting through Skype. Or Google Hangouts or whatever the case may be. That allows us to still kind of get like that face-to-face interaction, which I can't tell you how important that is. Like, don't get me wrong. What I've learned is you absolutely can sell from behind the scenes. You absolutely can do it. I've done it time and time and time again. But if you can become a person and actually get that face-to-face interaction, whether it's sitting together or whether it's conducting a meeting through Skype, what I can tell you is the value that you can command will increase exponentially. There's something with someone just being able to look you in the eye and the trust that comes with that that works so well in your favor. So, our presentation doesn't change. Like I said, it's I redo these things in about 5 minutes. They're like 98% template at this point. But the only thing that really changes is instead of sitting either in our office or in a coffee shop or at their spot, we're doing it through Skype. It's as simple as that.
All right, that's great. Next, this was a common one, is when you talked about the YS slide, you said you use four bullet points, but you actually only went through three of them. So
Oh,
now
did
we
I?
just so it created
Wasn't
this
that
big
sneaky of me?
open loop in people's brains that freaked them out.
Absolutely. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up the presentation so I can give them to you verbatim. I want you guys to get value out of this. Okay, so we can actually, so the first bullet point is a simple reinforcement that everything we've talked about we can deliver against. So verbatim, it is we can actually achieve what we've discussed today. I'll give everyone a moment just to write that down, and then I'll rhyme off the other three. The second is we customize our pricing to ensure your highest ROI. That gives you leeway to walk away knowing a range so that you can present the we could, we would scenario. Again, never give your pricing right there. So just let them know every market is different, every client is different, every dynamic is different. We need to do our proper research. So we customize our pricing to ensure your highest ROI. The fourth is we offer exclusivity. Or excuse me, the third is we offer exclusivity. And then the fourth is we can be your one-stop shop for everything digital. And that's where we go into that cross-sell that I was talking about. So, we were sitting here today and we discussed search engine optimization in depth. But as you can see, when we were looking at some of your competitors, there were a few things that were happening in the market that your competitors are using to achieve a certain amount of success. Well, don't worry, when the time is right, we can do that too. For instance, we saw a video ranking in the search engine rankings. We can do that for you. As you can see here, we do video marketing. We also do social media. We do content and copywriting, blah, 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 blah. So we can be your one-stop shop. Now, obviously, if you're only selling one other additional service, you'll want to change the wording of that a little bit. And what I would change, if I were to change that, I would say we can support you in some of your other marketing initiatives when the time is right.
All right, awesome. So next common question is people are asking, how do you actually provide the services? Do you do it in-house? Do you outsource it? How do you go about fulfilling on what you sell?
Well, it depends at what stage of the business we were in. So when I was first starting, it was all me because, to be honest, I felt like I needed to learn the things so that I can communicate well with the clients. In hindsight, maybe not so much because I simplify things so much now that may not be the case. But when I was first starting, it was just myself, and then I started outsourcing. And from outsourcing, I do probably what most of a lot of people online do. I went to Odesk and found a few outsourcers for the most frequent needs in the business. Now we do have a team of 17 people full time. We use 6 contractors on a part-time basis, and then we still have a handful of what we truly consider freelance outsourcers for kind of random one-off jobs. So it's a hybrid. We do a lot of outsourcing. We do a lot of stuff in-house now. What I would suggest to everyone on the phone call is you'll definitely want to start outsourcing. Don't take on that overhead until your revenue, until your client base truly justifies it, because then your business really does change. Try to keep your overhead as minimal as possible and only use people on a part-time basis until there truly is a full-time need. Don't go running down hiring someone full-time if there's not a true need for it.
All right, great. Next common question that was asked is around exclusivity. So one, how do you define exclusivity when you're talking to a business? And then how do you price, is that additional a fee on top of normal a fee? How do you go about on the pricing side?
Okay, really good question. So the way that we approach exclusivity is, so we'll say we offer exclusivity, and all I'm doing is putting a worm on a hook so that the fish will bite. So they will almost always ask, well, what do you mean by exclusivity? And so that's when I'll tell them, obviously, you're not the only cosmetic dentist in Edmonton, for example. So what our exclusivity offer means is that we will agree to a certain geographical region. So we know that there's only a certain distance that someone would travel to go visit a dentist. They're clearly not going to come in from Calgary, which is another city pretty far north compared to Edmonton, as long as I don't have those backwards. So we know that, and then you get the person to say, yes, that's right. You know, someone's not going to drive an hour just to come see a dentist. They'll choose someone more locally. So what we'll say is we will give you a geographical exclusivity for a certain boundary. Now you and I can work together to define what that boundary is so that you know that we're really knocking out your most immediate local competition. Now, the pricing for the exclusivity is based off of how big of a geographical area you want to be exclusive within. If you're knocking us right out of the market, obviously that's going to be more costly. If you're just trying to get us out of your neighborhood so we don't represent any of your competitors in your neighborhood, then that's a different story as well. So the way that we gauge our pricing, and this is something that really was kind of consistent throughout the course of the webinar, is we base our pricing based on transaction value. So again, I'll sit down and I'll really look at it, you know, what is the cost of taking on 2 additional clients in that local market? And that's typically about the exclusivity price that we offer. So let's say we're talking to a client who's looking at, you know, a $900 a month package, you know, roughly about a $11,000 a year package. You know, we'll tell them that typically exclusivity is 2 other clients. But if you agree to it right now, we'll do it for 1.5. So we'll do it for about 18. We'll do it for about $2,000, 2,200 or something like that. What
Okay.
most people do, now let me repeat this. What most people do that's wrong when it comes to pricing is you cannot have static pricing. And Kevin may disagree with me on this one. I don't believe that you should have a cookie cutter package pricing. I believe that you should do your best to understand the transaction value of the client that you're dealing with and also the impact you can have on the business. If this is a new business and I'm about to feed them their first 400 clients, like a dentist that we had just down the street in the last year, we basically built her business for her in less than a year. The transaction value of that will be much higher than someone who's only looking to get maybe 2 or 3 clients extra a month. So in the course of your presentation and your time spending with that prospect, try to get an idea of what success looks like for them. If they've got really ambitious goals, that exclusivity price should be really high because you have to deliver. If they've got really kind of like easy goals to hit that you know you can kind of do it in your sleep, then I'd probably back off on the exclusive price because that's just going to be a low maintenance, easy client for me.
And also, what I found interesting when we were talking and like how you do your pricing, because you don't do like a package pricing that's custom for everybody, is you view it as like from the traditional advertising world, is they find out what a client's budget is, and then they put together the right package of services based on the confines of how much their budget is to pay for all that, to create the results that they're looking for. And you do the same thing in your business, is you find out how much are they willing to pay, like what's their price range of budget, and then you put together the package that's going to fit within that range that you have.
Yeah, you know, that's definitely the corporate world and my time in you know a very advanced marketing department. You know, I was trained by the Coca-Colas and the Procters and Gambles of the world. So, you know, that's probably one of the biggest insights that I took from marketing in the corporate world is the value of a budget versus price. So we try to implement that throughout. And at the end of the day, you know, we really try to get the business owner to understand that the only thing we're limited by when in terms of delivering for your business is how much money you give us to spend. Like our, you know, and sometimes, you know, I'll even say, hey, this is our margin. We make X percent. So now you know what I'm making. So the only thing that we have to establish is how much you want to invest in your business. It completely shifts the psychology in that mind. Totally changes the game. Works wonders. Such a simple shift, so powerful.
So the last kind of common question I saw coming through is around, do you offer some sort of performance guarantee, or how do you position that as far as the actual results that are going to be delivered?
Well, people are going to love me for this. I provide no guarantee. In fact, my contract, and so I'm going to go to a service that most people will want to guarantee, but I think that's ridiculous to offer. Search engine optimization. It clearly states in the first section of our contract, we do not guarantee any results. And we don't guarantee results because of this. And we send them a link to Google where Google basically says, no SEO should ever guarantee you results. Now, the reason why we do this is for several reasons. I explain to them that our job is to get, and I'm speaking specifically to search engine optimization because that will help us frame up the conversation, but I tell our clients when we're talking about SEO that there is no guarantee how successful they're going to be when someone actually calls them. Our job is to get more traffic to their website and to make them more visible in their local market. But if their receptionist is just awful with people and ends up repelling all of the prospects that we get to call, is that really our fault? No, it's not. That's your fault. So when I'm setting the expectations, I let them know when the point of transition and where the handoff is. We get someone on your website to either hit that contact form or to phone or to call you. And at that point, it's your game. We're not responsible for sales whatsoever. So as long as we can show you improved ranking and increased traffic levels and a higher conversion rate in terms of inquiries, we've done our job. Would you agree? And they always say yes. Don't ever guarantee something unless you control the entire process chain. And you won't in most cases because the local businesses won't allow you. That's a great question. I'm glad someone asked that.
All right, and there's kind of one more that is interesting. A lot of people ask this as well. So when you're showing results, is it like slides in your presentation that has like screenshots of those results, or is it something that you actually go live on the internet and show them on the internet?
Nothing is better than showing them something live on the internet. It's
Yeah.
real life. It cannot be fudged. It cannot be faked. I love going, hey, you want to see what we did for another client in your industry in a different city? Boop, 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 and then showing them the results. Nothing sells faster than that.
All right, I think that kind of summarizes the main questions that were coming in throughout this presentation and also here at the end. And thanks a lot for being on here. Oh, well, before I wrap this up, one of my favorite experiences so far with Corey is I'm up in Toronto. I came a day early for a business meeting I had to spend the whole day with Corey, and
I can't believe you're telling this.
and like he texts me like our time kind of gets pushed back, and the reason is because he was on the golf course with a client meeting. And the point that I love about this is, so you went there with was it a prospect that you were talking with, and then a friend of
Yeah.
his as well?
Yeah, so it was a prospect that I had already kind of gone through the presentation with, and we were circling back for kind of the final conversation. So it was time to really close with him. Again, in that initial meeting, you'll notice that I don't talk about pricing. I actually don't try to close in that meeting because that disrupts the entire partnership and value and education that you're trying to instill. When at the end of the day, you're saying, so you can make out your check too. So we were back to kind of wrap things up.
Yes, and then he invited another business friend of his, and it turned out that they were the slowest golfers in the entire world, and
It was painful.
I don't know, like how many hours did that end up
It
being?
was a 6 hour and 12-minute round. So for anyone that knows golf, you should be coming in at about 4 hours, 4.5.
But the outcome of that was you close the prospect that you're already talking with, and
Yeah.
then over the course of the 6.5 hours of just random like talking to another guy, he ended up signing up at the end as well.
Yep. And so
And how much was that round of golf worth for
that
you?
was a $60,000 morning. That was a good morning.
So I gave you a pass. You closed
Yeah.
$60,000 in sales, and so that was a pass for being couple hours late.
Yes, yes, which I still humbly apologize for.
So thank you a lot for being on your Corey. I know me personally, I was taking as many notes as I could while also manning the chat box here. So I have a bunch of notes, and I'm going to go back and rewatch this. I'm going to have my business partner rewatch this because there's a lot of actionable things that am not doing that you talked about that I can't wait to try out myself. So I
Right.
know my own benefit from it, and I saw the benefit everybody else got. So that's really am grateful for you being on here, Corey, and your first time ever to do a training for other local consultants. So it's been a great success.
Absolutely. I sincerely enjoyed it. I really hope people got a lot of value out of it. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, I'm more than willing to help you work through your biggest issue that you're facing now, whether it's landing that first client or scaling up to your 100th. So, if you do have any questions, hit me out on Wilkie at freeflowmarketing.ca, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Please do be patient, but I will get back to you. I promise you that.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. And again, if you want the recording, if you want the follow-up training that we're doing next month, just take a 30-day trial of LIMA, the local Internet Marketing Association, right here at localim.org/gold special. And you get a lot of great value. You get that special discount price as well. And we'll see everybody next month.
Take care, everyone.